Got a new recruit for you here. Ikenna Alozie, a 2026 combo guard who is right on the verge of five-star status. The 24/7 composite lists him as the 10th best player in the country, a five-star. And then 24/7's own rankings rank him as the 19th best player in the country and a four-star. So kind of right on the verge, but he has been hooping it up. He's been having some good performances recently, and a lot of big schools are taking notice. Some of the schools that have offered recently on Ikenna include Kentucky, Louisville, Kansas, Gonzaga, Houston, Arizona, even. A lot of big time blue blood type schools and national title contending schools that are trying to make a presence felt with Mr. Ikenna Alozie. Give me the scout on this kid. I hadn't actually heard of Ikenna until the last week, and then I just starting to see some highlights of him pop up onto the timeline, and then On3 put out his recruitment update. So, what do I need to know about him? What's he good at?
So the first things first, when you mention him, he is a certified two-way prospect. As like 6'2", he's like your point guard disruptor, but he can bring a little bit more to the game. I wasn't familiar with him until he was on the Nike Hoop Summit. Like that's where I first heard of him, and then I kind of started following him a little bit. But if it wasn't for guys like Jordan Smith in this class, and some other players, I would probably put, or if it wasn't for like Jordan Smith and Caleb Holt, I think Alozie would fall into like the third like best two-way player in this class. I just think that he's extremely disruptive at 6'2". His hands are extremely quick. He makes things very, very tough on the point guards on the other team. And I mean, when you watch him play, I was trying to find what his actual steal numbers were for EYBL, but I would reckon that he's up there as far as like players that just disrupt the game at that spot. And I think he brings a little bit more offensively than he gets credit for, but I think his money is made on the defensive end right now. But he's a really good prospect, really good player. I think the jumper has a ways to go, but he has the ability to be physical, get to the hoop. And I really like his game. I will say this though. He, you said that he's a five-star on most recruiting services that you look at.
Yeah.
I I think he's more of a, not to slight him, I think he's more of a lower five-star guy, maybe like a high four-star in my opinion. But like I do think that it's very evident kind of the ability he has as like a two-way disruptor point guard.
Okay. So he's playing at Dream City Christian in Arizona right now. But do we know where he's actually from? Because when asked by On3, like, what are you looking for in a school? His answer was, I've honestly been away from home for a long time. Somewhere that's going to take me in, make me family. Somewhere I'm going to feel like I'm home again. That's the first thing I'm looking for. Is he like an East Coast kid that went to Arizona for school?
I'm not hot.
I can't find where he's from
I
anywhere.
can't
Just
find where he's from. I know
Arizona.
he did play for the world team for I know he did play for the World Team for the Nike Hoop Summit, and his country he represented was Nigeria, but I don't know if that's where he's actually from.
Interesting. Okay. Well, for what it's worth, a couple West Coast schools have been prioritizing him. He has said that he wants to visit Gonzaga in the summer, and then Washington and Arizona are the two schools that he's already visited a bunch and have prioritized him more than anybody else. So it's just kind of interesting. You hear that quote, and it's like, well, I kind of want to get back home. What does that mean? If you're like you feel like you're not home in Arizona, but you've got all these West Coast schools prioritizing you early, does it mean you want to leave the West Coast? And is that
Eh,
where like a Houston or a Kentucky or a Louisville come back into play?
He's playing for the Utah Prospects. I'm not sure if he's from Utah.
BYU is listed as an offer as well for him. So a lot of West Coast involvement here. But then again, he's kind of like, as he's saying, like, yeah, I kind of want to get back home or somewhere that feels home. The schools he's listing that he wants to visit are all away from the West Coast: Kentucky, Kansas, Louisville, and Houston. So I don't know. Interesting. Out of those four, maybe like new schools that are on the radar that he's trying to build a relationship with, does he feel like a player at any of those schools?
So the
Louisville,
immediate school,
Kentucky, Houston, Kansas.
Kentucky, Houston, Kansas. Houston sticks out to me, I think, immediately.
Me too.
there's also a school that if he did, find out if he was an East Coast kid and he wanted to make his way back out this way. I saw he had an offer from Tennessee. I could
Yeah,
see Rick Barnes like this would be a Rick Barnes point guard if I've ever seen a Rick Barnes point guard.
Yeah, the defensive stuff would map. When he spoke on Houston, he said right away, their defense. Every time they see me, they say you got to be able to guard the ball. If you can't, you probably won't step on the court. And he's hearing that quote and he's like, yeah, I want to go to Houston. It'd be a perfect fit, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, fun player, great defensive prospect. Go check him out, and we'll have more updates as Ikenna's recruitment heats up.